like to call our Thursday, June 27th, 2019 Forest Lake Area Schools School Board meeting to order. Let's open up with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everybody. If this is your first time to the rodeo, we've got some information over there on the table describing what we try to get done as a school board. If you'd like to speak on any agenda items, just fill out a green card and get it to me in the next couple of minutes, and I can give you up to 3 minutes to talk. And with that, Member Clerk, could you please take a roll call?
Member Corcoran? Here. Member Kettle?
Here.
Member Luthner? Here. Member Peterson?
Here.
Member Tyson? Here. Member Rayfield?
Here.
And Member Olson is here.
So we got a full house in the summer. That's
Impressive.
good news. Right, we have no changes to the agenda and scheduled and unscheduled visitors. Listening session report.
We had two visitors tonight, and we had some discussion on the e-learning day.
All right, thank you. Student achievement, Linwood Elementary.
Good evening. Thanks for your time tonight. It is pretty impressive that everybody's here in the summer. Tonight I want to talk a little bit about the future of Linwood. I come to you as a very excited elementary school principal. I'll mention this again later in my presentation, but I come off of 2.5 days of conference at the convention center. I had a great team with me, and I'm just pumped by what we experienced and the learning that my team experienced and what we're going to do with it in the future. So lots of new things I'm going to talk about. One of the big ones, our new building. And I don't talk about it as a renovation. I talk about it as a new building because that's what it's going to feel like, especially to the kids. This is a 3D rendering of what it'll look like when the finished product is done. A little rendering of the front entry. Here's some photos I took just today. This is that same front entry. Got some grass and curbing to work on there. You can see this black opening in the building is our old front entrance. It was a secure entrance, but just barely, right? It was safe, but it still didn't have the benefits that the new system does. We would buzz visitors in, and then they had access to the hallway and had to choose to come into the office. The new front entry has all the new construction. We will buzz people directly into the office, have some control over who and when they enter the actual school building. We enter that space. This is our old office in the 1972 wing. Last summer, we brought the 61 and 64 portions of the building down to the ground and rebuilt up new spaces. And this is a major renovation to about half of the 1972 space. This used to be the front office where you would meet Heather Karstens and the nurse, and then our offices in the back. That tiled wall is the one existing wall of the nurse's bathroom, now gone. This is one of our kindergarten rooms, brought down to brand new studs. You can see the kindergarten room bathroom right there. Another, right next door to it, another kindergarten room. Lots of great improvements there. This, brand new bathroom space in the center of the building. Linwood had some interesting architectural choices in the 1972 build. One of them was that you had two classrooms that were next to each other but separated by a long, skinny hallway that you used to get to classrooms behind those two classrooms. So those skinny hallways will go away and be pushed to the sides of the bathroom. So this new bathroom, you will walk all the way around it. And you can walk on either side of it to access the classrooms in the back. This is in our cafeteria. This is a new fire curtain. We were still existing with our 72 fire curtain. This is brand new and looks great. Some of our external doors are being replaced as well. This is our door number 3 that goes out to our blacktop and our playground. What often the old doors would get sticky and kids would come out and it wouldn't close, and that kind of makes the security of buzzing in with your card moot if the door doesn't close on its own. So now those will close on their own, a little more safety there. And this is the back side of the 72 wing. And we're going to gain a little elevation there as well. That's mechanical space up above for vents and things. We also have some new team members and some new roles in the building. We're really, in a building as small as ours, we are this year going to be a 16-section building. To have this many new people coming in is a rejuvenation opportunity. And we've picked up some good draft picks, if I can say. We pulled Tina Sparby over from Lino Lakes. The minute I heard that she was available, I stood up and said, I need to make a visit to Lino and talk to her. Stopped into her room after school one day and we talked about Linwood, and she wanted to be on the team, and so she's with us for next year. And we're going to move Morgan Lindholm from K to first because we're actually going to be able to have a third section there to lower our class sizes, due in large part to the voters and their willingness to give us those funds. So we are very appreciative there. We pulled a great person for second grade in Janelle Koenig. She comes to us from a small charter school in the St. Croix area. She was very attracted to our forest program. She actually, the school she came from is a defunct old Concordia Language Villages camp. And so her classroom was actually in the woods, and students moved from building to building, which were actually the old sleeping quarters and things, building to building to move between classes through the forest. Had done some great things out there, bringing science and math into the woods, and so she's very excited to get out into our forest. Again, Mary Malrick, a third grade teacher from Wyoming, wanting to come over. Again, very excited by our forest opportunities, so excited to have two new people who are really looking at the forest. And then Cassie Schmall is also a new hire due to retirement. Cindy Prestegard retired this last spring, and Cassie, of course, will not replace her. Some teachers are irreplaceable, but she will do a great job in that classroom. She comes to us with over 10 years of experience in the St. Francis district, and had been chomping at the bit to jump into Forest Lake, and now we finally had the opportunity for her to come over. Janelle Koenig, if I could back up, is replacing Mary Tenjack in second grade, who also retired this spring. Again, irreplaceable, but we're excited for what Janelle can do. We're also excited by the new supports, and you know a lot about these, but you might not know the faces that we're using to fill those places. Our academic support specialist is Sarah Henry. She's just shifting roles a little bit. She was an integral part of our Title I program at Linwood, and she is shifting over to academic support specialist. She'll be with us at about a 0.8 and also do some help over at Wyoming Elementary. Our technology innovation specialist is Katie Fabianski. She is our current media specialist and was filling the other half of her day also working in Title. This will shift her to media and tech innovation. She has a fire under her for the technology and innovation. While we were trying to find time for people to pack boxes this spring, she came to me and volunteered, and she said, do you think the teachers would mind if I took every single class one at a time for an hour in the last week and a half of the school year and worked on coding? And so she had kids as young as kindergarten working in coding on iPads and did coding lessons for all 14 of our sections in the last week and a half. It was pretty amazing, and teachers were very appreciative. I said, Katie, I don't think anybody in the building is going to stand up and say, no, I'll pack later. I don't want my kids to code. And she was right. We are also adding both reading and math core to the building. Those things are still in the works, but it's going to be added reading support in K3 and added math support in 4-6. So we're also super excited about that, to work in conjunction with our existing Title I program to expand opportunities. Title often gets limited to just K3, and with the supports on both ends in these programs, we think we can then offer more Title programming across the whole grade spectrum. And like I mentioned before, just some really new energy. We spent 2.5 days at the PLC at Work Institute at the Convention Center. Probably 2.5 days of the best PD I've experienced, and it just seemed like every time I saw one of these great people coming out of a session, or we came back for lunch, or we were done for the day, just on fire. We need to figure out some time to talk about this. We need to figure out how to do this. We need to figure out how to make this part of our building. But I'll just list the names again. Tina Sparby, who's come over to us in kindergarten, Morgan Lindholm from 1st grade, Tessa Abrahamson from 2nd grade. We had Judy Marlowe out of 4th grade, Cassie Schmall out of 5th grade, Shelley Guptill from 6th grade, and we had Carrie Siskin representing our special ed department. As I said, small school. When you bring 7 educators, you're bringing almost half your faculty. And the impact that'll have is they go back to work with their teaching partners this fall. We're just super excited. Part of that was getting to learn from these amazing experts. Keynote speakers there marked in orange, just really phenomenal. Not just innovative or interesting, but inspiring. Pushing people to re-examine some of their preconceptions, right? Getting them to rethink about how they do their work, and they are very excited. These educators left this experience inspired, on fire, and ready to get back to work. We also have a new PTA board. 3 of the 4 people new to the board, not new to PTA work. They've been valued members of the PTA and took an opportunity to step up and lead. So we have Janaea Neiman as our new president, Jamie Linder as our vice president, Lisa Rogenkamp staying on as secretary. That'll be great because she's rooted in the work, and she'll be able to help lead these new leaders to make sure we're doing what we need to do. And then Melissa Benson is new as our treasurer. So we're excited for that new team, into this new building, new staff members. It's an exciting time for us. There's still more great new things to come. I'm still actively working to add 4 more new people to our building. We are still filling our PE position. I had a very promising phone call with a young gentleman this afternoon, and we'll see what tomorrow brings. But we're also looking to fill our music, and we have 2 special ed openings that we are hoping to fill in the next few days. We have some promising candidates there as well. So it is really going to be a time of rejuvenation and an exciting time to be at Linwood. And we're just grateful, we're motivated, and really, really excited to have a great year. And if you have any questions, I'll answer this time.
Oh,
Just a statement, I really appreciate you acknowledging your PTA up there. They do a lot of great work, and we're usually the recipients of those donations here at this meeting, so yeah, I really appreciate you putting them on there.
Yeah, great people and great leadership, and we're excited for new things.
Joe, I was going to ask, where was the conference held?
It was at the Minneapolis Convention Center.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
that's a big
Another quick question, where will the preschool rooms or the ECSE, would they kind of still be in the same area?
No, actually, in our well, here, I'll show
I
you.
mean, I don't need anything specific, I was just
I
curious.
can show you on the 3D render here. As you look at our front entrance, the window directly to the left is our SAC room, our school age care. And the room directly next to that, the second window over from the main entrance, that is our new preschool room.
Okay.
It's very cool that they're,
Put them together.
the way that the building is designed is that SAC has its own secure entrance now. So they'll enter in and then you can buzz into either one. In the past, that door on the far left, door 2, was just unlocked from 6 a.m. to 9 so that parents could get in and out of SAC, and unlocked again from the end of the school day to 6 p.m. We really have the building secure while the bulk of the student body is there, but there'd always been that kind of soft spot before and after school. That'll be shored up now, and all parents, whether they're coming during the school day or for SAC or picking up or dropping off, will buzz in through the secure entrance. We'll be able to lock door 2 up most of the time.
Nice.
And it's nice that the 2 rooms are linked as well. There's a door between SAC and the preschool room, so they'll be able to share space and use those spaces more effectively. Because SAC is, as you know, empty all day, and it's nice if preschool needs to break out, they can use that space right next to it.
Very nice. I saw Tessa Abramson's name up there, and it
Yes.
made me smile, because when I saw her, I said, I'm coming out to your classroom to see your new windows.
Yes.
Because eons ago, when I worked with her, I was out there for ECSE, It was such a severe cold winter, we could not see out the windows
Oh.
in her classroom.
And she's been without
There was
windows
so
for the
much
last 2
frost.
years, so she's very excited to
I
see
know, she told me
the
that
outside.
she's gonna have windows.
There is only one designed classroom in the entire building that does not have a window. And we are strategically leaving that open this next year. We hope to have to fill it someday. Somebody's gonna have to have a windowless classroom, but until that day, we'll use that one last.
But that's how old and thin those windows were. The
Yes.
frost was,
Yes.
oh, well, that's good. Good
I was just-
report, Joe.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I'm excited that you have a lot of new staff too, because it always brings enthusiasm and some new ideas.
It does.
And different ways to do things, so that's
Absolutely.
exciting. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're gonna take the best of what they can bring
Yeah.
from their other experiences and incorporate it into our building. That's how it
Great.
works.
Well, congratulations, it's gonna be great, great new
It's
year ahead. Yeah.
fantastic. I can't wait to
Mhm.
see it.
Same on Janelle, she worked on Vote Yes, she was really
Yes.
a leader in that community
Yeah.
already.
Again, another person in the community really itching to work for us
Yeah.
and just never had the opportunity before because we weren't in the hiring mood in the past.
Yeah.
And this year we are.
Yay.
That's awesome.
All right, well, thanks for coming
Thank
out. We
you.
Thank you so
appreciate
much for your
Jill.
time.
Yeah.
And if you ever need help getting something done, you can always come to us and we can work it out.
All right, I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'll start making my list.
All right, reports. Any workshop or conference reports? All right, 9:16, Member Olson. We do not have a meeting in July, but we did have a recent equity leadership workshop. It was very interesting and it focused on racial equity as well as self-reflection and self-reporting. And the goal of the workshop was to make your unconscious bias become conscious. So it was very interesting, and we had a lot of individual group discussions.
Who's on that conference?
Connie and Linda, and I'll give you the name of the author that we watched on the screen. I can't remember her name, Robin somebody.
That's great.
I might have it here.
Look it up. Thank you.
Okay, and then I did get a green card tonight. Tracy, you wanted to speak? Yeah, go ahead. I'm making special accommodations.
That's right, she deserves it.
Thank you. I'm just gonna read what I was gonna, read, because I get a little nervous, you guys are.
No way.
But my name is, good evening, my name is Tracy Angelo, I'm the FLAPOP president, and you will be hopefully ratifying our contract this evening. And I just wanted to say, I wanted to personally thank you, the school board, and the district administration, Dr. Massey, Larry Martina, and Donna Friedman, for an awesome and positive negotiation process. It was, you just seemed to, it was awesome. So I just wanted to say that we make a great team, and we look forward to working with all of you in the future. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Thanks, Tracy.
All right, City of Forest Lake, Member Kettle.
In the meeting on June 6th, agenda item number 9.7 was a review of the agreement for the school resource officer services between the Independent School District 831 and the City of Forest Lake. The reason I bring this up is we just got a letter from the Chief of Police and Director of Public Safety here in Forest Lake, Richard Peterson, and I want to read you just part of the letter. The letter says, quote unquote, "This was the first time an SRO agreement has ever been approved on a consent agenda." So I thought that was really a kudos for the City of Forest Lake. And I know there's been concern in the past about the school district and the city working closer together and being more partnerships, more in partnership. I think this demonstrates that. So
All right.
I appreciate the letter from you.
Thank you.
That's
Thanks,
great.
Alex.
It's great to hear.
All right, Reshaping Opportunities for Success, 2015-2020. Director Martini?
Thank you very much.
You're
I'm
welcome.
really excited that Mr. Mueller went ahead of me and was able to show you folks some interior pictures. I don't have any interior pictures of Linwood, and boy, that whole area is gone. It's amazing how quickly they can demolish. It takes everybody 3 months to put it back together. You've seen this slide. We're really excited for all of the professional partners that have worked with us on this project over the 5 years. It's been a real joy. We're proud of the accomplishments, and they're just great professionals. I'm going to start out this evening with just a aerial shot from the Forest Lake Area Schools Education Center. Most of those cars that you see in the lot are at the swimming pool. We're currently having people park there because as we slowly move around to the other edge of the building, we're going to be working on parking lot. We over-roofed ductwork and other things are coming along very nicely at the Ed Center, and those folks will actually be moving from the CLC before the start of school. Moving, of course, early in August, over to a lot of their spaces there. And that's exciting. Here, though, is the parking lot on the east side of the facility, and they're working in the northeast area of that parking lot. So it's not the full parking lot, but give them a shot from ground level that'll show you, it's about a third of that lot that's completely paved, and we're probably going to be removing about half those soils down a foot to 2 feet just for correction. We always have ponds in that area, so it's quite good. Normally, you don't get a look of this side of this facility, so if anybody can name this facility, you don't get a prize, but what facility is this? The Wyoming Water Tower is in the distance. So this is the side facing east, so the sun rises, of course, and all of those. Those storage trailers are housing all of the furniture. Remember, we're working throughout the perimeter of the entire facility. We're getting all new windows, looking at doors. Here is the side of the facility with the Cross Anderson construction trailer. And you can get a little peek on the left-hand side if the parking lot is gone. This is probably a better shot. The entire parking lot is gone. They're getting some of the ground taken away so that they can move the curb and sidewalk closer to the building. That's one aspect of lighting the parking lot. You can see a crane in the middle. I gotta tell you, I love cranes, so that's why I selected this the photos that we're taking. Mr. Mueller's building, this is really exciting. This matches up with the front that we built at Egypt. This is a day or two earlier. And it's going to be so exciting as this takes shape. Off to the right-hand side is where most of the work is occurring. If you take a look, that square, that portion of the facility is the one that's been entirely demolished under the interior off to the right-hand side. And we flew over the school forest to get this shot. So the area they're working in is the area closest to you, in the center left. So with that, just want to share with you how we're going to progress. Completion this summer, working on the CLC next summer. And with that, any questions or comments that you might have?
Was the, were those new air handlers on Southwest, on the roof?
So that was actually ductwork, yes.
Yeah. Is there gonna be,
Ductwork, and there are some air handlers.
is that gonna have a building on top like we've done for other?
At that location, no.
Okay.
You could in the future, you could put up one of those panels. I know Canada often puts up these panels that look like glass block. Panels.
Yeah, okay.
Larry, got a question that someone asked me at the Hall of Fame. Is the fenced-in part, and I did ask Superintendent at the Education Center, is that the playground?
So there's two fenced-in portions at the Education Center. There's a tarred portion, and it's on the east side of the building, so that would be for basketball or any other hard play surface. But then there is open sand farther to the east.
And is that the playground?
And that could be playground
will
for
be.
future
East.
focused magnetic programming that exists. It would have been the spot originally for a Montessori playground, but with programming changes, it doesn't have a purpose at this moment.
So is
Early
where-
childhood family ed and the nature playground, those are on the west side of the facility.
Oh, okay, so that's why it didn't make sense to her, because she was looking at the tarred one. Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
Absolutely.
Any other questions?
Not a question, but a comment. I drove by the new tennis courts, and they sharp.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, we should have tolerance and servicing done this through, and we're going to turn it over. The person that does that work spoke with my colleagues today. Well, we're going to certainly be turning that over to Mr. Henry, Rose team.
just like to, when you're talking to some of the workers and the planners and the builders that have been working on this project, please give them our thanks, because this is, for the amount of money that we've put in and the amount of work that we've had done, it's just been remarkably free of headaches. It's just been incredible that the high-quality work that we've gotten and the way it's been done on time and within budget, and just let them know how much we appreciate it.
Thank you so much for that, Mr. President. We do. We're very pleased. It's outstanding quality work, and these are great professionals that we've benefited from in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
It's great.
I would highlight, you say without headache, if Mike Kopitz was here, he might disagree with you. But truly, it is because of his work
Oh, yes.
that those headaches seem like they're minor issues, and he resolves things on the fly every single day. He's really quite remarkable.
Yeah.
They might come back
absolutely.
and visit us at a board meeting.
You don't want anybody phoning Dr. Massey. Correct level.
Well, and I just want to add, I think we did hire just some of the best, the cream of the crop, have been working on our buildings from DLR to Kraus Anderson companies, all the way down, just excellent work.
All of the folks that have successfully bid our projects, as you mentioned, we've been impressed. We share that with the construction teams.
Perfect.
That's great.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Larry.
Thank you.
Superintendent's report, Dr. Massey.
Thank you. Before I get into a couple of quick items here, I'd like to just echo and acknowledge Joe Mueller's leadership at Linwood Elementary. And in 2 short years, he's really taken the reins and has given incredible leadership to that team. And the enthusiasm you see there is contagious throughout the building. We're in great hands, and we're excited for the things to come through Joe's leadership. Thank you, Joe.
Yeah.
June 11th, 12th, and 13th, we gathered our administrative leadership team for our annual summer admin retreat. I suppose that might be a stretch to call it a retreat, but we do dig into some pretty important work as the year wraps up. Our first day was with Dr. Muhammad Khalifa. He's a professor, nationally renowned author and speaker around the country, who did some work with us for 3 hours on equity and race, and has committed to continue to work with us as we build our equity framework and dive into even more work around equity development and work around race as well across the district. The next day, we had Dr. Clay Cook, also from the University of Minnesota, who is nationally renowned in his author work and speaking work nationally around social emotional behavioral learning for kids. And he's also on board to help us build our SEL and behavior framework for the district. So we're really excited for both of their work with our administrative team and our teachers throughout the district. Our third day was actually a data dive, so maybe that's where the retreat piece is a bit of a stretch, but each principal takes 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, and talks about student achievement in their district. We are laser focused on how our students are doing, and we ask our principals to take that time to share across our team what's going on by way of highlights and areas of need and concern in their district. Their awareness, familiarity with their student achievement, how students are performing, where the leadership needs are around instruction in their building is really impressive. And we lean heavily on our instructional leaders, Joe included, to lead that work. You've heard me say before, we go nowhere without great leadership in our schools, and we're in great shape. So we spent some good time with data and then diving into our work around literacy and math the rest of the day. We have one more administrative retreat day, August 7th, and we'll continue our work there and plan for the upcoming school year. Summer school, as you know, is underway, started on June 17th, will end on Friday, July 19th. I've been to each of the sites a number of times, and even though it's summer, you'd be amazed how excited kids are to be in school. There's some really good things going on, really with a focus around literacy and math at the elementary and credit recovery at the high school. So kids are doing some really good work. I would point out that Arts in the Park every Tuesday from 5 to 9 p.m. We have a table there along with community education. If any of you want to come and
spend some time at our table and interact with the busy folks out at the park, you're of course more than welcome. We've been there from day one, and I think we've picked up a handful of enrollment just by being there. So it's been very fruitful for us to be there. And the 4th of July parade, the biggest in the state of Minnesota, happens right here in Forest Lake, and we will have a spot. Diane will lead that for us again this year. Thank you, Diane. I will be out of town, unfortunately, but if any of you want to join up with our bus and our team, would love to have you there handing out pencils and interacting with our community. So, and that's my report.
All right, thank you.
Wow, I'm just impressed to hear that we have a table at Arts in the Park. That's just fabulous.
It's a great presence.
We've talked about that for many a year, and I've always thought that's really important, so thankful that started. I'm gonna have to look for it, because
Yeah.
I was there and I didn't see.
Yeah, we're down on the boat launch end, so it's
Oh.
right near the boat launch.
Good to
And we're a
know.
bit off the beaten path, but most of the people circulate around and find us.
Oh, that's
And then we're out of
awesome.
the commotion of the
Right.
music and the large crowd, and we can have good conversation. So it actually is a pretty good spot.
All right, very good. All right, for the consent agenda, I'm going to pull 7.5. Are there any items 7.1 through 7.4 other members would like pulled? If not, do we have a motion to approve 7.1 through 7.4?
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, 7.1 through 7.4 are approved. 7.5, Superintendent?
Yeah, thank you. Along with your approval there is the approval of Mr. Jeff Cavett from North St. Paul as the assistant principal replacement for Kathy Ungrecht. I'm going to ask Mr. Caldwell, the principal at the high school, to introduce Jeff. Jim, come on up.
But as you guys know, Kathy retires. Her last day is Friday. We went on a principal search, which, as you guys know, it's a board-approved process where we have a pre-interview where people come in and we screen them. We had many applicants. Then they come in and they interview with a school panel and then a teacher and community panel. And Mr. Cavett did a phenomenal job. He came to the top, and we're more than happy to have him. Background is North St. Paul and curriculum, and we'll really round out the team at the high school. We're super excited about that. So with that, I'll let Jeff say a few words.
Thank you so much. Assembled board members, Dr. Massey, what a thrill it is to be here tonight, finalizing this process that's been going on over the last couple of weeks. I'm so thrilled to be joining this team. A year ago, I was sitting in a very hot and humid classroom at the University of Minnesota, where Dr. Massey was leading one of the courses that I was taking in the admin licensure program, and I started to learn about the work being done here in this district. To get to be a part of it now is incredibly exciting. It's also humbling. I know how fortunate I am to get to work with Jim and Haley and the rest of the admin team at the high school. I know the caliber of the district leadership team that I get to be a part of here. And in all the slides tonight, the commitment of the community to making sure every single student here has a high-quality education that prepares them for their future is really evident. And I know I have a lot to live up to in filling Kathy's shoes as she leaves. So all of that makes it very humbling as well. And I'm excited to get started next Monday. Dr. Massey and Mr. Caldwell mentioned that I'm coming to you from Oakdale, Minnesota, where I live with my wife, Karen. She's a labor and delivery nurse in Woodbury, Minnesota. And we have two kids. My son, Cam, is 7 years old, just finished first grade. He's at baseball practice tonight. My wife is driving him back and forth so they couldn't be here. And then my 4-year-old Claire is back in Oakdale as well. One of our goals this summer as a family is to get to know this very large community that you all represent and serve. So we made it up to Hugo for Good Neighbor Days. I understand there's a small gathering here on the 4th of July that we'll be able to check out. And so we're excited to get to know Ranger Territory this summer. And then I can't wait for the students to arrive and get going this fall. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and I look forward to doing this work with each of you.
All right.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah, welcome on board.
Yeah, welcome.
He's got his colors on. His tie.
All right, 7.5, adopt 2019-2020 resolution for membership in the Minnesota High School League, in Minnesota State High School League.
So On that quick piece, I've shared with you for 3 straight weeks the code of conduct, the State High School League information, as well as the Why We Play video. So thank you for taking time to study that and watch the video. I've asked Mike, our activities director, to come and just do a general introduction and speak to each of those pieces and how they play out for our programs.
Thanks for having me. So the Why We Play, I'll start with that. It was a big focus of mine and you guys. I went to Inside Out coaching. I think there were 6 of them during the school year. Dealing with the Why We Play, I did that as a coach for the last probably about 6 years now. That's been around, and it really just the biggest definition there is trying to find what is your purpose and what's your goal. And our goals always are, can we put the most competitive team together? We want to win section titles, conference titles, state titles. Those are our goals. And trying to get your coaches to get, that's not our purpose. Our purpose is to turn these people into young adults into just great human beings and want them to come back. And I always thought my purpose was if I get invited to a wedding 7 years later, I did my job because I reached that student I had or I reached that kid that I coached. To me, that was my purpose. I made a big enough influence on their life that they thought that was important enough to let me know. Or if they had a baby and all of a sudden you got a text, hey, coach, I just had a baby. And it's like, okay, I'm on that inner circle of their lives where they want to go. And we got several coaches in this district. I was blessed to come into this district that are doing that. We have several that aren't at that stage yet, and that's my job to get them up to that stage and to realize it's not about you as a coach. And once you get to that as a coach, it's so much more fun. When you start putting your success on wins and losses, you never know unless you're a private school or maybe they're getting kids coming in from all over different. You got the kids you got in your community, and hopefully you're keeping your kids in your community here, and it's going to ebb and flow a little bit. And you've seen some of our programs that have not ebbed and flowed very much, but we've had some that have ebbed and flowed so much. So try to give them that purpose of why you're doing it. Try to make that relationship with those kids is the most important thing. And when I was here a year ago about this time, as I talked about, I'm definitely a relationship person, and that's what I try to emulate to them to get them. So that's the Why We Play. And our coaches all have a purpose statement that they go through. It's something I do in the preseason meeting with them. We pulled that up, we redid. Some of them some of them did it really fast. As part of your coaching, you go through a module and you're doing concussion training and you're doing all kinds of things. And some of them I go, no, this is not acceptable. This is I like to coach soccer. No, that wasn't one of them. But that isn't a good enough statement to me. That isn't, you need to evolve into this as a process when you go through there, and it takes time. And it's good stuff to go through and try to learn to get through that. So that's a big piece on the Why We Play. Just trying to relationship build. In the video you guys watched, I talked about having a caring adult in your life. You need to be that caring adult. So that's big things.
Well, kudos to you, and I can just feel your 100% commitment to that Why We Play. And the Minnesota High School League rolled that out in 2012 and 2013, and then they continue at leadership, the MSB Leadership Summits, to revisit it and have the people there that develop that piece there for questions and answers. And I just think it's excellent, and I think it brings it right around to what you're saying. It's relationship-based, and kids need to feel that they're benefiting from playing in one of our sports.
Yeah.
Whether we win or lose. So
I was trying to get the parents to buy into that too.
Yes, exactly.
That's the hard part.
So thank you for all your commitment to that.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
And they talk about the 3% go on and play in college, and
Right.
I had a conversation with a parent out in the parking lot. That meeting started at 7. We were still in the parking lot at 10:30, mind you, in the summer. And we were walking, I was standing by his truck, and we were talking, and I kind of asked him, how much money have you spent trying to get this scholarship and go through? And he kind of sat there for a while, and he came up with a number. I go, they don't even give scholarships that big for your sport that you're trying to get. I go, just being honest with you, they don't. It's not that big. And sometimes it gets so wrapped up, and then my kid got a scholarship, and it's like, yes, it's more on them rather than what the kid wants. So.
And I think the educating on that just never goes away.
Yes.
And there's always little pieces that need to keep being funneled in to parents and to the students and the coaches. So.
Yes.
I was going to ask, are all the coaches required to watch the Why We Play video?
Yes.
Are they with you when they watch it, or they just have to watch it on their own, or how?
They're on their own.
They're on their own.
Yeah,
So-
but then once they're done, then we have our preseason meeting,
Okay.
just with the head coach. I don't bring all their
Okay,
assistants.
and you kinda
But
discuss
every
it
assistant
and-
coach needs to watch it.
Okay.
Yeah, and we pull it up.
Yeah,
and look
okay.
at it.
I just
Yep.
wanted to know how the process worked. And then during the season, do you have meetings with them, like, to see how it's going, or, I mean, do you?
Yes.
Okay, you,
Yes,
okay,
and
'cause I'm
more
not sure.
as I got into the job than I was
Mhm.
when I was trying to grab a drink of water at the beginning of the year.
Right.
More in the spring, where I felt like I actually could help.
Yeah.
And actually the winter was when it kind of slowed down a little bit for me. And, one of the coaches, I felt like I helped a lot as a coach that's been here for a long, long time.
That's good,
And
yeah.
it was weird to me that I felt like I should be getting advice from him versus the other way around. So that was, and to me, that tells me that's a coach that really wants to learn and is a lifelong learner. He's got maybe a year or two left.
We've had so many successful seasons. I mean,
Yes,
this
it
year
was- it
was
was a great year
amazing.
this year. Kept me
So, I
busy.
mean, just to have that continued discussion is really important.
And
So
I would
I
say
appreciate that.
Mr. Ben Fick was by far.
Oh, yeah.
The Norwich team has been good, they've been good forever, and I'm not saying Ben's the reason why they're good, there's all kinds of reasons why they're good, it's a pretty strong family community there, but I got the opportunity, I was in the hotel room helping them do math, some kids do math at state, or in the school that day, and they weren't getting, so I was just up there, I was helping them do math, and Ben came in, I didn't know he was coming, and he came in, they did their kind of pre-state little meeting that he had, and he went around, and he said, and every kid had to say, what was I gonna do to make this a great experience tomorrow? And it wasn't, what am I gonna do to win the race, what am I gonna do to anything, and it was shock to me, because I've never, even as a coach myself, I never ever, that wasn't anything that came out of my mouth, I'm like, oh, I almost teared up a little bit listening, I was so fortunate enough to listen to him talk that way, it was just amazing, really cool for me to, to have a coach that was doing that in his second year.
Wow.
He's definitely coaching, not doing state championships, and back those kids and making them the best players. So.
Wow, that's
Perfect.
terrific.
All right.
Wow.
Wow, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Mike. Mhm.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks.
Yep. All right, do we have a motion to adopt the 2019-2020 resolution for membership in the Minnesota State High School
Move to
League?
Can I say something real quick? I thought we were going through the different sections, so I was waiting. But the rules, I just like to appreciate how many protections they're putting in there for kids. That every single rule, you kind of wonder what the story is behind it, but you're really glad that they're protecting the kids.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Definitely.
Yep.
So a motion to
Move to approve 7.5.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, that's what I was gonna ask. Did we get that? So, any other discussion?
No, good.
All right, if not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, adopted. All right, donations, Member Kettle.
Even in the summer, we have donations. This month, we had $345.36 donated by the Forest Lake Girls Lacrosse Boosters for a payment toward a coach bus trip to Grand Rapids. We had a pediatric pneumatic stander, I don't know if I said that right, with Trey, from Janelle Slater of Lino Lakes to Wyoming Elementary Physical Therapy to aid therapy goals for students, and that stand was valued at $1,800. We had $100 donated by Alina Health Service, Health Community Shares of Minnesota to Forest View Elementary for school programs and supplies. We had $500 donated by the Jesse R. Johnson Insurance Agency of Forest Lake to the school system for the Hall of Fame expenses. We had another $500 donated by the Community Scholarship Foundation of Forest Lake, again, for Hall of Fame expenses. We had an alto saxophone donated by the Maloney family in Stacy, Minnesota, to the music department for students unable to afford a saxophone valued at $200. $250 were donated by the Forest Lake Dugout Club in Forest Lake for baseball for a payment toward a coach bus trip to Duluth. And last but hardly least, $1,433.10 were donated by also the Dugout Club to the baseball team for payment for baseball pants as part of their uniform. The total donations for the month came up to $5,128.46. With that said, I'd like to recommend that the school board accept the following contributions and permit their use as designated by the donors.
All right, so do we have a motion?
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All right, thank you, everyone. And with that, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, donations are accepted. Old business, 2019, 2020, and 2020, 2021 calendar adjustments. Superintendent?
This item actually relates to 9.2 as well. We'll get to that in just a minute. And this is asking for a very simple change to the 1920 and the 2021 already approved school calendars, simply by identifying and indicating that the seniors, 12th graders, last school day would actually be the last school day for all students. Typically a day that they report and take care of last day business, including graduation practice and cap and gown, but we'll count it as a school day versus their last day being the last day. So in the 1920 school year, that would effectively identify June 5th as their last day along with other students. And then in the 2021, they would move that to the June 10th would be the last day for seniors as well as other students. And with that, I would ask your approval.
Okay, so do we have a motion to approve 9.1?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Makes sense.
If there's no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Right, the adjustments are accepted. 9.2, approve e-learning days.
We're excited to come back with another introduction to the e-learning concept and e-learning program. And just by way of background, we, as you well know, last school year, the legislature and the governor signed what became dubbed as the Snow Day Bill, which allowed school districts to essentially count up to 5 days that were canceled due to inclement weather, and to count them as instructional days. The legislature, at the time, along with the governor, was quite clear that this was a 1-year reprieve given the extreme winter that we had. And with that, nudged school districts to adopt e-learning days, and that's a program that was approved by the legislature a number of years ago, allowing districts to create a plan that would, when school was canceled due to inclement weather, implement an e-learning day where learning would be provided through distance learning and remotely and through online access to learning. The statute requires that districts develop that plan and boards approve that plan, and that's what we're here tonight to present and ultimately ask for your approval. Along with last year's winter, you'll remember that we canceled 5 school days. Along with that, because of when they happened in the school year, we converted 2 professional development days to instructional days. And that was met with some concern from the community and parents, because they had plans and now they had to adjust plans, but we were able to make that work. Then we had another snow day in April. Had the legislature not implemented the snow day bill and approved the snow day bill, we would have extended the school year by 1 day. And that would have been most likely a day when families were already packing the camper and the trailer and heading out for vacation. So it's problematic when we would have to extend the school year. So in order to avoid this problem in the future, and assuming that the legislature won't give the reprieve that was given this year, we have gone to work to put together an e-learning plan to address that, those situations and those concerns. I'd like to thank Brad Ward, who's in the audience and has done a lot of leadership work, consulting with MDE, consulting with other districts, and putting the essential elements of this plan together. And Diane Georgie, Director of Teaching and Learning, and her team as well. We also met with the FLE leadership, Joe Hall, the president of FLE, and member rights, Amy Dickinson, and had a long conversation about the elements of the plan and received some of their suggestions and input along the way. So the benefits of an e-learning plan. One, and perhaps most importantly, it allows continuous learning on a day when school would be canceled due to inclement weather. It also reduces or eliminates, depending upon the number of snow days that we have, the need to make up lost instructional days. And the way in which you make up instructional days are converting professional development days or work days And those days are already planned with important activity for staff. Shortened spring break, and you can see the concern that might come with that, or extending the school year. So this e-learning plan will hopefully eliminate or reduce the need to take any of those measures. And ultimately, it does have the potential to advance the district's effort to advance and move forward and integrate blended learning into our system. Statute requirements, the state sets the minimum number of instructional days. We currently have in our calendar 2 extra days built in at the secondary level, so we have 2 days. If we exceed 2 days, we're below the minimum and we're making updates. E-learning days can only be implemented when schools cancel due to inclement weather. If we have a power outage or need to cancel school for some other reason, we cannot implement an e-learning day concept, only for inclement weather. We can use only 5 e-learning days. Beyond that, if we cancel school 8 days due to weather, we're beyond our cushion and the days allotted here, and we're in a 1-day makeup. And you can do the math beyond that. Learning activities need to be relevant or in time to the current learning taking place in the classroom. Teachers can't in August come up with, here's my activity if we cancel school in March. It's got to be tied to the learning taking place at that time. There also needs to be provisions and plans to meet the IEP and 504 accommodation and service needs for students on an IEP or on a 504 plan. And throughout the e-learning day, teachers must be accessible to students online and by telephone.
Can I ask you a question?
Please.
Does our phone system accommodate being able to forward your phone to a different phone?
Mr. Brockman.
The quick answer is yes. The longer answer would be it's complicated.
That's something we'll want to think
so
about.
And the workaround you'll see in just a minute is for a student to leave a voicemail. Teachers can access her voicemail remotely, capture that kid who calls, return the call back, et cetera, and there's provisions in here to accommodate.
Well, and it's probably a bit on the next page, but, so they'll be calling from their own phone, and there might not be the comfort level of every child wanting the phone number of their teacher showing up to return the call. So is there gonna be a protocol for kind of caller ID or a routed number like they call in and it forwards itself?
Yeah, we'll get to that in just a moment. Yeah, that's a good point. So the overarching concepts with the e-learning plan, again, the e-learning program would be implemented in order to meet the minimum number of instructional hours and instructional days. E-learning days will be announced at the time of the school closing, so when families hear the infamous voice of Tim Brockman canceling school for the day, there will also be the added announcement that this will be an e-learning day. All of the prep and training that we'll provide for students and families, they'll know what that means. Best lessons are designed to be review or introductory. So in concept, it's not the moment to say, to use the e-learning day to introduce a new trigonometry concept and expect students to take a test the next day. So at best, it's an opportunity to review, to go deeper, to introduce a new concept, to create relevant application to learning taking place currently in the classroom. E-learning days will be reported to MDE as instructional days for the middle school and high school only. Elementary students will be provided learning options for e-learning days. We won't be asking elementary students to be engaged in digital learning or online learning, but learning opportunities and activities will be provided for them by way of their teacher. Students without online access will be provided paper copy of lessons a day or two before the snow day. And you might be thinking, well, how does that work? It's rare, quite honestly, that we wake up and are blindsided by snow event. We know they're coming. We would anticipate that, communicate with staff that Thursday might be a snow day. In the event that we have a snow day, let's say it's Tuesday, 2 days down the road, please prepare an activity and a lesson that you can provide for students without online access, and prepare your web tool or your learning management tool for that day in the event that we have a snow day in a day or two. And we will have measures in place to identify students who do not have online access and provide, in as discreet a way as possible, the activity for those students. You can imagine students not wanting to self-identify that they don't have internet access or cell phone or whatever it might be. So we will certainly take that into consideration as we identify those students and provide those learning opportunities for students.
So, will elementary children be able to call their teachers too? Or is it just high school?
Certainly.
Okay.
Certainly.
So
Yep.
they can, if they have questions, they can still,
That's
the
right.
teachers will still
Parents will be
available.
able to
Okay.
call in, leave a voicemail, or students at the upper grades
Okay.
could do that as well.
Okay.
I think it was in the, oh, sorry, the discussion last time was they could potentially download the information at school, so using school internet.
Right, so we have bring your own device concept at the high school, and many students at the middle school as well have a device, personal device they bring. They may very well be able to say, a day or two before the snow day, here's the lesson, go on, let's use the Wi-Fi, let's everybody log on, download it so you make sure you have it in the event that your internet is not resilient at home on a snow day. So we'll do all that preparation to load this work in advance of the actual snow day.
So do we have extra laptops that could be distributed to kids that identify? Sometimes you hear that,
yeah.
oh, my laptop at home is broke, or my mom takes hers to work and I use hers, or, you know.
Right. So part of the BYOD, or bring your own device concept at the high school, we do loan, no charge, no deposit, a Chromebook, district-owned Chromebook to students to use for the entire year. They do sign off and they indicate that they're responsible for the device. And I don't know, Mr. Caldwell, if it's 100, 150?
It's 150 to 200.
Yeah,
So we have that many extras?
yep,
Actually, we have more than
Oh, we do.
Chromebooks. Yeah. So that was part of the investment to go BYOD at the high school.
Okay.
Yep.
So then you're thinking that they already have that.
At the 9-12, at the high school level, they do. And at the middle school, those that don't have access will either download on their device or have a paper copy a day or two in advance.
Okay. I have a quick question, since Julie brought up the elementary age students population. What about parents working parents, and those kids go to daycare, because their daycare centers are open, or their childcare is available, it's their neighbor down the street or whatever?
Yeah, at the elementary level, we'd ask that they bring their work with them, or they are doing that as homework in the evening when they get home. It's not going to be a 6-hour lesson,
Right.
but it'll be things to keep them engaged in literacy or math or some other application or relevant learning activity.
So there's no need to call anybody?
No,
Unless
it'll be
in the
fairly
evening.
self-explanatory for a youngster in terms of bringing home
Okay.
work. It might take the form of a choice board of do this activity or this activity, or
Okay.
there'll be a lot more creativity by our elementary teachers than I can think of here
Okay.
to engage kids in meaningful learning.
Okay, thank you.
Could I just have you, the acronym LMS, could you just explain that?
Yeah, LMS is Learning Management System. And right now, the best example of our learning management system is Google Classroom. It's part of our Google suite of Google tools, Google Email, Google Apps. Google Classroom is another tool. Many of our teachers are using Google Classroom. Kids have access, assigning access to the Google Classroom. And some teachers only give materials, homework, activities by way of Google Classroom. So we're looking at more robust tools than Google Classroom. We've looked at a couple of different tools. Director Georgie has brought a team together to evaluate and look at a couple of different tools, and they're close to making a decision on the tool that we're going to implement next year.
Okay, thank you.
Plan details. I think for the sake of our conversation here, I'm going to walk through each of these items, but the next pieces, I promise not to go through, which is the teacher checklist and parent-student checklist. But I jumped to these to illustrate that we have thought through a lot of detail. Teachers might be thinking, all right, what is my job? Okay, before an e-learning day, here's what it looks like, much of what I've already discussed. During an e-learning day, what is my role, what is my function? After an e-learning day, what does that look like? Students, what does this look like before an e-learning day and during an e-learning day and after, and same for parents. I'll walk back to the plan details. Teachers, again, will provide an online learning lesson via LMS or a related online tool. Teachers will determine which students do not have internet access or device, and we will make appropriate accommodations and support for those students to get access to the learning activity. Teachers will be available to students by way of the LMS and school voicemail system. Let's talk about that for a minute. Again, the teacher's developing the daily lesson on the learning management system and providing paper copy for students. During the day, they're using the LMS to engage with students. Students will be asked if you have first hour, second, or fifth hour. You can log on and the teacher will be available at times throughout the day to interact with students. They can post questions through the learning management tool as well. We'll take attendance based on kids who actually log in and check in. That'll be part of the expectation. We'll have an attendance piece for students that are not accessing the learning management tool by dialing into the teacher's voicemail. Teachers are checking voicemail, responding to kids who leave questions there. Attendance, as I mentioned, will be taken through logging in. A long discussion around special education and meeting the needs for students on an IEP. So we will be working in the early part of the school year before snow flies and weather turns cold, identifying on students' IEPs how we will meet service needs for students on an IEP, and that will be captured largely in the least restrictive environment component of the IEP. So clearly, if a student is receiving X number of minutes and X services, that may or may not be fitting or appropriate through this process, but we'll identify how we will meet that. Parents will be aware of that adjustment and accommodation by way of the IEP as well. If necessary, we will go deeper into the IEP and speak directly to how direct service minutes or services directly will be provided for students as well on the IEP. There will be quite a bit of conversation with students on IEPs and their parents in this area. We must, by way of the law, and certainly because of our commitment to meeting student needs, will need to be really diligent in this area, making sure that we're meeting the needs of kids on an IEP and who have specific accommodations.
Does the 504 then fall just on the teacher or on the team?
A 504 is a non-special education document through the American with Disabilities Act. And the 504 identifies special accommodations that students have. Rarely are they typically take the form of shortened assignments, extended time to take tests and quizzes, those kind of things. So accommodations on the 504 might be easier to address than the unique service needs on an IEP.
Okay.
Back to secondary with the 2 days built in. Does that mean they get 2 true snow days before we implement e-learning? Snow day number 3? Or?
You know, that's our thinking at this point, that we would implement when we need them to meet the minimum requirement for minimum hours and instructional days. So the first 2 days, we wouldn't need to implement. You could create the logic and the rationale that if it's important to be engaged in learning, so a snow day, first one, we're using e-learning, but for this implementation for families and for kids, and getting this off the ground, I think it makes sense to not use the first 2 days, but roll this out on the third day if needed, and subsequent days after that.
I have an input on that, I guess. Wouldn't it be prudent to save one, just in case there's a crazy April snowstorm no one sees coming?
Yeah, if we don't use the e-learning days for the first 2 days, we have 5 to use.
Yeah.
So essentially, I think we
We'd have
accomplished
three
that.
Well, a lot of this is predicated on knowing that it's coming and having kids have the ability to get a packet or a download or go through a lesson plan. And especially if we know February it's gonna happen, one freebie is awesome, everyone gets to enjoy it, and I kind of feel like we should almost hold an ace that if all of a sudden in April, no one thinks it's gonna happen, and then week up, and they cancel school, and we can't really implement e-learning very well because so many of the things we had built in
Yeah.
can't happen, and we've run through our 2. So then we're back in the soup of people wondering why we're losing a day somewhere when we were supposed to have the system and then we didn't do it or it
Sure.
didn't work.
Yeah, we can certainly have more conversation administratively. I don't know here that we need to iron that out specifically. I think we would err on using them when we need them. As we get deeper into this and determine that maybe we need one on reserve for that purpose, we can make that decision. But we would err on using these to meet the minimum number of instructional hours and instructional days.
Is there, go ahead. Well, is there gonna be a poll for what kids would prefer?
In terms of,
They
prefer
is no day.
No, not a real poll, not like
Don't
the
let that
real
make the
word
decision.
poll. But I did an informal poll of the 9 children that were in my house today, and all of them said that, yes, there's 9 of them. They said, oh, no, we'd love to not miss a day of vacation, and we definitely don't want school to go longer. We'd rather have like an hour, and one of them said, it's not gonna be the whole day, I still get to go play. So my very small sample size said that they'd prefer to never have the risk of a longer school year, and they'd work for an hour or so on their snow day.
yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good example of the point you were making before. I would ask that you let us administratively kind of wrestle with how to play that out, but I think it's a point well taken.
And I think there's a lot of anxiety around. I know my daughter experienced it when we had the cold days. We had so many of them.
So many.
And she just knew she was going to be slammed when she got back in the saddle. And she just had a lot of anxiety around not being able to access what, she needed to be doing or could be doing. So I think that's great to, what your input is too, Kate. But I think they'd rather be doing something than
And you're right,
at home.
the last year, there were 3 days in January, consecutive days that we canceled due to cold.
Right.
And it is catch-up mode when you get back to school,
is.
and
No
teachers
doubt.
might be able to get some of that material out and get some work, some advanced work going, so that they can hit the ground running when they get back.
So, Dr. Massey, when we vote to approve e-learning days, what does that mean? What are we approving and what are we leaving for the administration to?
Yeah, essentially, you're approving and giving, you're approving an e-learning plan that allows us to count 5 e-learning days as instructional days.
Mhm.
The actual implementation of that plan is what you see here, but that's an administrative effort for us to deliver on that plan. So you're approving the ability of the school district to report 5 days as e-learning days,
Yep, okay,
based on this plan that we put together.
okay.
Yep.
Are we ready then to put a motion on the table, or?
Can I just say real quick, Brad, I think you've done a great job at getting this information down on paper and researching all the aspects of what it takes to make an e-learning program. I'm excited that we are focusing on middle school and high school and wonder if we are thinking about doing a BYOD in middle school.
that is a conversation JP Jacobson and his team is having. Yep.
So, I'd like to say just one other thing. Since the governor and the legislature in their infinite wisdom have decided to nudge us toward our e-learning, I wish they would nudge their hand off the purse strings and also get us rural broadband access in our district.
Completely agree.
Yeah, I have another governmental question, I guess. It seems like they're limiting it in two different ways. So they're saying only for weather, and they're saying only 5. But what if there is weather beyond 5? So I'm not sure why they're putting that secondary constraint on there. So is there?
It's new, maybe?
Maybe it's new, but just because 5 happened this year, I don't know why 5 is the magic number.
You know, what I would say is, I think part of it is making sure that districts have some built-in days beyond the minimum, so that their school calendars are robust enough to have those cushion days built in. If it's unlimited, then there may be less incentive to have days beyond that.
Okay.
I just wanted to add one thing quickly. I know that this was probably a big part of the discussion, but we're the third largest, geographically largest district in the state, so we have a lot of rural routes. And I know that when I lived in Scandia for 18 years, you know, they'd talk to friends that are driving around in town and going here and there, and we were still snowed in. So I think, you know, there's reference to libraries open, the schools are open, but there will be kids that'll be socked in, and just hopefully
Yes.
the access works. And we've given a lot of thought to, you know, that everybody will have a laptop if they need it, and so we need to be really proactive in those circumstances where we know there's kids in those rural areas that we have.
Yeah. I was just gonna say too, I mean, you addressed a lot of my big concerns, because I had quite a few at the beginning. But I like the idea that, I mean, elementary is not, I mean, you're thinking of stuff for them, but it's not as robust and as, you know, having to check in and sign in and all
Sure.
that as the middle school and high school. Because that's really the ones that are always, especially at graduate, you know, you don't want them to have to make up days. That is hard. So-
And I don't know if I mentioned, it's less critical from a minimum instructional hours and day standpoint, because there's there's less of a requirement for instructional hours and days at the elementary.
Right, and that's,
Yep.
yeah, so thank you.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve 9.2.
All right. All right, further discussion? I mean, for my part, I would just say, number one, I appreciate
Good job.
the depth that you guys have been looking at this. It's a big, it's a new way of thinking about, you know, how we provide access to how, you know, to our educational resources. And I think today, if I need to work at home, I know exactly how to do that. You know you talk to my boss, say, hey, I'm gonna be working at home, I bring my equipment home, but I also have access to the kind of resources so I can do all that work. And this is something that's happened over the last 5-6 years, just making it really easy. So if I have a day where it's snowing like crazy and I'm gonna be sitting in traffic for 2 hours, it just makes sense, it's easy to do, we all understand it, I can dial in for the meetings. And I think that's the same process that we're kind of looking at here, is figuring out a way that we make it easy to do this sort of thing, because it makes everybody's life easier. We don't have to run buses on a day where it's a condition where it can be dangerous or hazardous, or kids are out in the frigid cold, and instead have them work from home, have the teachers be able to interact with them, have them to do that kind of learning that they need to do, have the teachers kind of prepared. That's all for the good, I think, you know? I also believe that it's gonna be a rough startup at times.
Like most startups are.
Yeah.
And to that point, can we request after the first one happens, sort of a download of how it went?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So, just to wrap up, I just wanted to say that, so I appreciate these checklists for teachers and students and parents, and to really help everybody to kind of understand how we're expecting this to all play out, and the more information we can give to parents, and so that when it happens, which it will happen,
everybody knows what to do, or at least knows where to go to figure out what to do, so I appreciate that. Member Corcoran.
I know you talked about the teaching staff kind of putting this together too, but how do they feel about it? Do they think this is a good plan? Are they on board with it? Yeah, I was just curious on the staffing.
Yeah, I would say that, and I don't make any suggestion, I'm speaking for all staff here, but one, they don't want to extend the school year or spring break, and quite honestly, professional development days are precious, as are work days. So adjusting the calendar is really challenging. So the ability to count instructional days, have meaningful work going on for students, I think is identified as a win.
Great.
Well, I just want to add that I think this type of a plan just shows our commitment to the education and the learning of our students, that we wanted to continue on those days or those events of continuous snow days, and it seems like we get them every year, something. So appreciate all the hard work. It's just a very well thought out plan.
Any further discussion? If there's no further discussion, Member Clerk, could you please take a roll call?
Member Peterson?
Aye.
Member Tyson?
Aye.
Member Rayfield?
Aye.
Member Olson votes aye. Member Corcoran?
Aye.
Member Kettle?
Aye.
And Member Luther?
Aye.
Right, e-learning days are approved. 9.3, students participating in national and world academic competitions, policy 533. Superintendent?
The school district financial assistance is necessary to ensure continued participation in national and world academic competitions. The amounts listed in this policy do not fully cover the expenses incurred by the competing teams and their coaches. The teams and their coaches will be expected to seek support from other sources to underwrite the remaining costs. The school board policy has reviewed this policy and are recommending only a couple of simple and minor language changes to this policy, and with that, I recommend approval.
All right. Do you have a motion to approve 9.3?
Move to approve?
Second.
Any further discussion? Any discussion? I'm sorry. All right, if not, Member Clerk, could you please take a roll call?
Member Luther?
Aye.
Member Peterson?
Aye.
Member Tyson?
Aye.
Member Rayfield?
Aye.
Member Olson votes aye. Member Corcoran?
Aye.
And Member Kettle?
Aye.
All right, thank you. The motion's approved. 9.4, wellness policy 546.
All school districts that participate in the National School Lunch and School Breakfast programs are required by the Healthy, Hunger-Free Kids Act of 2010 to have a wellness policy that includes standards and nutrition guidelines for foods and beverages made available to students on campus during the school day, as well as specific goals for nutrition promotion and education, physical activity, and other school-based activities that promote student wellness. School Board Policy Committee has reviewed this policy, and they are presenting it tonight and to the school board with no recommended changes, and administration recommends approval.
All right, do we have a motion to approve 9.4?
So moved.
Second?
So it must be working pretty well?
Well, and I think in 2016, 17, this had a lot of work done on it. I went to a lot of meetings with the district wellness group, and I was on policy then, so I think it was just giving a big, long look at community contributions from parents, and so I think it's just a really, really good policy.
Nice.
I read it today in complete, and I was surprised at how many things I had seen the behaviors from kids in the school. So it's definitely in action. And when I read it, I was like, oh, that's where all that came from. So definitely in the classrooms.
A lot of hard
That's
work
good.
on this.
Yeah, great. All right, any further discussion? If not, Member Clerk, please take a roll call.
Member Olson votes aye. Member Corcoran?
Aye.
Member Kettle?
Aye.
Member Luther?
Aye.
Member Peterson?
Aye.
Member Tyson?
Aye.
And Member Rayfield?
Aye. All right, 9.5, ratify 2018-2020 Forest Lake Association of Professional Office Personnel Agreement.
First of all, I'd like to echo Tracy Angelo's comments. Thank you. Our dialogue and conversation was very productive. And I think, effective, so thank you for that. This ratified agreement are for the years 2018-19 and 2019-20. I'll walk through a couple of the changes being made and suggested to this contract. On page 8, we're striking fair share language as we've done with other contracts. On page 22, we are for employees that are less than 12 months. We are adding 2 additional floating holidays for less than 12-month employees.
What page was that on?
That was on page 22. Page 28 and 29, we are striking language related to severance for employees hired before 1987. That's now no longer relevant. And then wage adjustments to the contract are related to school board parameters of 1%. A 1% wage increase in year 1, 18-19, and a 3% wage increase in the second year of the contract, 19-20. And with that, administration recommends approval.
Okay. Do a motion to ratify the 2018-2020 Forest Lake Association of Professional Office Personnel Agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Discussion? There's no discussion. Member Clerk, please take a roll call.
Member Tyson?
I wasn't ready. I have a question.
Okay.
Sorry. Rob, you're speedy. I just was wondering, there was some language in here that I thought was a little confusing, but they're all 8-hour days, right? All of our people in this, or are some 6 hours? It was said, it was
They're
addressing the
not all
break.
8 hours.
There's some are 6,
Yeah.
okay. Okay. And they're all 12-month.
No, not all are 12 months.
Not all are 12-month.
Yep, some are
Okay.
student contact days or slightly more than that, and some are 12 months.
Okay. I was looking in this contract too to see who's their direct supervisor? The building principal?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thanks, Rob.
All right. Any further discussion? If not, we take a roll call.
Member Tyson?
Aye.
Member Rayfield?
Aye.
Member Olson votes aye. Member Corcoran?
Aye.
Member Kettle?
Aye.
Member Luthner?
Aye.
And Member Peterson?
Aye.
All right. That
And I
contract's
just want to add too that this position is such an important one in our district. And I think that they're so deserved of this great contract. They're kind of our POS, they're our point of sale, they're our point of entry for people that come into our buildings. And it's such a critical spot for them to be the face of the district, and we so appreciate all their hard work in the buildings that they do.
Yeah, well said.
Well said,
Yeah,
yes.
thank you. All right, 9-6, approve 2019-2020 budget. Director Martini?
Thank you very much, Mr. President. You folks have this document as the attachment for budget. We're asking you to approve it this evening. The general fund budget is a $77.5 million revenue proposition, a $76.5 million expenditure proposition. But there's a common misperception that when the legislature gives us 1 or 2%, that we get that on all of our money. 1% only really represents $390,000. It's approximately half of our revenues. So we do have a 2% increase. We're accounting for 100 student loss. An interesting offset to that 1% increase. If we lost 75 students, it would be a reduction of $390,000. So unfortunately, with our projected loss, we're actually taking away more than half of the legislative increase. We're asking for your approval this evening, though. You can see the fund balance projections. And this is the same document that we looked at about 25 days ago, and the same document that the Finance Committee recommended approval. I can answer any questions you
right, do we have any questions before we put a motion on the table? All right, do we have a motion to approve the 2019-2020 budget?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion?
So this is the same document. He answered my question, correct?
Yes.
That we saw.
Yes.
Thank you, Larry.
And I guess there's gonna be people in the community who want to see more detail, we just send them to you?
Well, we will put up a PowerPoint I shared with you last time that has pie charts and deeper line item budgets. And please send it to us,
Yes.
because we like helping educate them on
I
the
invite them.
unique aspects of school finance.
Perfect.
All right, any further discussion?
Thank
There's-
you very much.
Yes. If there's no further discussion, Member Clerk, please take a roll call.
Member Rayfield?
Aye.
Member Olson votes aye. Member Corcoran?
Aye.
Member Kettle?
Aye.
Member Luthner?
Aye.
Member Peterson?
Aye.
And Member Tyson?
Aye.
All right, the budget's approved. 9.7, permission to request bids for bond projects for Forest Lake area schools. Dr. Martini.
Well, thank you. We would like to do a blanket request for soliciting bids, should they come up, throughout the rest of this year. This is the 5th year in a row that we've asked for this. It speeds up our timeline when those bids are needed, so we ask for your approval.
So just
Okay.
a quick question, we're approving you to go out for bids, and then you'll bring the bids back to us for another approval.
Absolutely.
All right, do we have a motion to,
Move.
motion to approve 9.7?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, Member Clerk, please take a roll call.
Member Olson votes aye. Member Corcoran?
Aye.
Member Kettle?
Aye.
Member Luthner?
Aye.
Member Peterson?
Aye.
Member Tyson?
Aye.
And Member Rayfield?
Aye. All right, the motion's approved. 9.8, school board control of student activity accounts, policy 713.
At our last meeting, we spent a little more time discussing this MSBA model policy. We're going to ask you this evening to approve it. The implementers effectively will be myself, Chrissy Renberg, our controller, and we're going to work in concert with each of the admin assistants at each of the school buildings. We already have been in contact with them, but the volume of student activities that occur at the high school and the middle school compared to the lower volume at elementary schools, we're going to be making accommodations for those folks, and it'll take us into August to get that all worked out. We've already closed one of the elementary accounts for transition, and we'll be looking to work with folks. They know all of these activities will be taking place. I think as we mentioned at that last meeting, ultimately, in August, you'll begin seeing these expenses as part of your approval process.
All right. And I'd also like to point out that this policy is based on MSBA's policy.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. All right, do we have a motion to approve 9.8?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
You know, I think we've known this is coming, and we've been kind of working with the groups, and they know, and I think everybody's kind of on the same page.
Some people are very excited.
I bet we are.
Wow.
All right, any further questions or discussion? If not, Member Clerk, please take a roll call.
Member Corcoran?
Aye.
Member Kettle?
Aye.
Member Luthner?
Aye.
Member Peterson?
Aye.
Member Tyson?
Aye.
Member Rayfield?
Aye.
And Member Olson votes aye.
All right, thank you. I just want to make a kind of a personal note is that we've covered a lot of really important things tonight, a lot of stuff like our budget and some policies, and the school board control is something that we've thought about for years. And I just would like to point out that a lot of work has gone into the looking at all these things through the committees, and like with the budget, the finance committee has looked at it, and we've had presentations. So it's not just rubber stamp. It's this a big process of getting people involved, getting people informed on these issues. A lot of calls to the superintendent, figuring out where all these things happen. So when it comes to the board, it's been fully vetted. The employees know about it. Everybody has had a voice in it, and I want to thank our employees for, going through that process. So when it comes to the board, it's had a really good hearing, I think. I think most board members would agree with that. So Anyways, I just wanted to kind of mention that. And that brings us to agenda item 10, new business. There's nothing there, so what, next month we'll have no old business, or?
That's right.
I need it.
Yeah, we'll find something.
We'll figure something out. All right, be sure to review your upcoming calendar dates, and with that,
I just want to add the Youth Service Bureau Taste is going to be July 18th from 5:30 to 8, right, Vanelli's.
Yes,
Vanelli's.
always fun.
Yes.
All right, agenda item 12, regular meeting recesses to go into closed session to discuss flee negotiation parameters. Do we have a motion to go into closed session to discuss flee negotiation
moved.
parameters?
Seconded.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right, we're going into closed session.
Can we-